We had so much trouble. Good evening. At this time, I'd like to call a regular meeting, Wallingford Inland Wetlands Watercourse Commission to order. The date is November 1st, the time is 7:01 p.m., and we're in the council chambers on the town hall. If you join me with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Eileen McKean.
Jim Vitale.
David Parent.
Deborah Phillips.
Michael Caruso.
Erin O'Hare, Environmental Planner.
Okay, we'll go on to the minutes of the regular meeting of September 6th. That is the last meeting that was held. Is there any comments regarding the minutes? Any corrections? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of September 6, 2017 be approved.
Second?
Second.
Call for a vote. Ally?
Yay.
David?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Mike?
Abstain.
Yes. Okay, now we've been requested to go into executive session regarding a court case that we're dealing with, that the town is dealing with. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the commission go into a executive session.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay, at this time at 7:04, we'll go into executive session in the bid room. We've come back from our executive session meeting, but I need a motion to return to our regular meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the commission return to its regular meeting from executive session.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion? I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay, on to old business. Application A 17 9.1, 135 Cook Road, COAG LLC. Can you bring the map out a little bit, Chris? That's good. Thank you. You don't want to be up there?
All right, we'll do it all from there. That's easy enough. Make it easy, so I don't have to get up now. Good evening. For the record, my name is Christopher Giuliano. I'm a licensed land surveyor and professional engineer with the firm Giuliano Associates. I maintain an office at 405 Main Street in the Yalesville section of town. I'm here tonight representing the applicants, which is COAG Farm Inc., which is basically Lori Cook Mara and her husband Bob Mara. They retained this piece of property of 135 Cook Road, which, as many of you probably know, was part of a much larger piece of COAG Farm, the balance of which was sold to the town, I believe, in the mid-90s. So this piece right here that you see on the map was retained by the Cook family, and after George Cook passed away, the land passed to his daughter, Lori Cook Mara. So what the applicants want to do, and they're working with the NRCS, is that there's an existing farm access way which they use to get from the easterly field to their westerly field. And right now, it's a grass crossing through a wetland. So what they are working with the NRCS is they're looking to improve that crossing, and basically it would become a 10 to 12 foot gravel access way. And the main purpose is so that they can get from the easterly portion of the property to the westerly portion of the property after rain events. Because right now, this area gets wet, trying to get a tractor through there or horses through there, it makes a mess. And if you do go out there, you can see that they are using it. The tractor has kind of gone through there, and it is mucky when it's wet, especially after the last couple of rainstorms we had over the last week or so. I think Erin had a photo from one of her letters showing her standing in there, and there was quite a bit of water, but that's to be expected with the amount of rain we got. Basically, it's a ongoing farming activity. The property has been farmed historically, and it's continuing to be farmed. But we did submit this application to the Wetlands Commission so that you could take a look at it. And after this commission passes it, it would go to the NRCS. They'd be reviewing it. They'd be kind of updating the design to their criteria. And from there, it goes to they're going to take it to the Army Corps of Engineers to get blessed from them. So it'll actually be a Category 1. The whole reason for this and going through these other steps is that the MARs are actually applying a grant which will subsidize some of the cost, and that's why the NRCS is involved for part of the design. So what we did is we followed their specifications, basically mocked it up so that this commission would know what's going on, could see it, and then once we get the approval through the town, we would turn it over.
Well, my question is that you just stated that NCRS
CRS, yes.
is going to design the crossing?
Yes, they were working with the MARS, and they indicated that they would do the design for the MARS. We have their specifications, which I gave copies to Erin, and my office took that and started showing what the design would be. Now, there are a couple elements that they do talk about with respect to, and Erin mentioned them in her letter, to deal with the I forgot what she actually named them. But there are a couple elements, structural elements that they may or may not use. And since I don't have direct contact with the NRCS on this, they may change what I'm showing, but based upon what's out there, I think this is what's going to be the improved access way through the wetlands. They may want something a little bit different on the downslope side of the water course, but at this point...
Your wetlands is just where you're crossing through the blue line here.
Basically, wetlands on the easterly side starts here at the little triangular line, and then it ends here again at the triangular line on the west side. We just have the water course here. And basically, the gravel access way is, they're going to excavate out, and they're going to put down the gravel access way. So we're basically, the water is going to continue to flow over this access way. It's just really to give them a nice solid footing to get farm equipment back and forth without rutting up and disturbing the soil by passing through this area.
Interesting concept that we're approving an application without seeing the design of what we're approving. We're approving the permission to go through there, but we really don't have a concept of what's going to be used. We're relying on people that we have relied on to do such things, although, I don't know, we had an instance that I didn't totally agree with their concept. What do you think about that?
It is kind of unusual, it is. But as I said, I've tried to take their design criteria, apply it, because I didn't want to walk in here with basically just a survey telling, yeah, the NRCS is going to come here, design something, and by the way, this is a farming, the access way is instrumental in the farming operation to get through one side or the other. It's a sort of, I didn't want to go that way. I wanted to give you something that you could at least see what was going to be out in the field, so that
Okay,
The NRC
let me just run quick, because I was away and I didn't study everything like I should have. Are you putting culverts in? Will this crossing have culverts?
no,
No culverts?
no culvert.
So it's building up with a very coarse gravel or a riprap or something. Are they digging out the base that's there now?
Yes, they're going to dig down approximately 12 inches,
Okay,
put down a coarse gravel, and it's actually 9 inches of what they call grade B compacted gravel. Basically, it's the DOT standard, and then on top of that, they're going to put an additional 3 inches of process aggregate on top of it. And the way they do this, especially when they're coming through where the water course is, they bring it down, so basically when they put it back, it's back at the existing grade. So they excavate out to 12 inches, they put the material back, so they're not really changing the grades at all. I mean, we do have a little bit of grading to smooth things out, but that allows the stream to continue to flow over the top
Over the
of this
gotcha.
without any impact to any kind of wildlife or the water course itself.
Okay, questions?
No.
Dave? Debbie?
No.
Mike? Aaron?
Yes, I have a lot of questions. You guys, the environmental planners report went out in the packet, but now that Chris is standing here, I'd like to ask some specific questions. Why not just give us the NRCS design? That we did get a page, there was an NRCS page that went out in the packet, and they talk about, they went out there in May, and they have a recommended design. Why not just draw that on the plan? I'm a little confused.
My understanding from talking with the applicant is the NRCS wanted local approval of concept to go forward before they got involved. I mean, the Maras, sorry, you know, they wanted to make sure that the local commission was fine and didn't feel like you were being superseded by the NRCS, DEP, and the Army Corps. They wanted to go through the local process first, because once the state and federal government gets involved, their review process, you know, no offense, but they kind of supersede, and if they blessed it, what impact or what input could the commission really, you know, provide?
The NRCS wanted what they call a low ford crossing.
Well, they had mentioned it, but again, there's no detail on their specification about what exactly the low float ford crossing is. So that's why I mentioned in my initial letter that they may tweak what we depicted for the commission and for your office if they decide to put this in. But I have no specifications, no details on
Well,
what that low
okay,
ford crossing is. And they may not need it because, again, this situation, you know, it's an existing crossing, and basically we're just beefing it up so that we don't have problems.
I personally would feel more comfortable with a low flow crossing, and in their page that you handed in, they indicated a CP 153 or whatever, so I went on the internet to look it up. So now I have the NRCS low flow crossing. So I would feel more comfortable with that. So it's not a, you know, it would help it get approved, I think. Because what it is like, for instance, the engineering department, Rob Beltramanis, he said he's not comfortable with the gravel. He felt it might get washed away. And he would be more comfortable with, we kicked around the idea of a united concrete, which I mentioned to Chris, the concrete waffle, I don't know what they're called, concrete matting. You put it down like waffles. It's like 12 by 12 waffles, and you kind of lay it down across a river. So, because the gravel, you're essentially dumping gravel in the river. Why not just lay it down? Why isn't that better?
I don't know that one is better than the other, but again, I haven't spoken, you know, Rob Beltramanis hasn't provided any comments or any feedback that I've seen, so I really don't know what his comments or his concerns are. But as far as the gravel coming through here, there's also woven filter fabric underneath, and that'll keep the gravel in place. So you excavate, you put down the woven filter fabric, you put in the gravel, and then you put in the surface course. It's not going to go anywhere. and this is something that the NRCS does and has done, you know, I don't necessarily know. I mean, they did mention, like you said, the low flow
Ford.
Ford, thank you. But again, it's not, they're not saying that one must go in or anything else. They still need to review this and take a look to see if it's warranted. I don't necessarily know if it is. I would defer unto them, to be honest.
All right, but another question is, how long is your crossing through the wetlands? Is it like 150 feet crossing, or how?
Yeah, I provided all that information in one of the letters that I'm,
Is it the one we got, the commission got tonight, the October 30th, the October, there's 3 letters from Chris. One's October 25th, one's October 26th, and one's October 30th.
okay. In the October 30th one, because this is a response to your EPR, the length of the accessway through the actual wetlands is 157 feet.
Okay, so that's a pretty long crossing compared to ones that the commission is usually asked to approve. I'm just making a relative, relative statement. I have other questions. I don't know about, the construction access way. I sent you something today, Chris. Did you get it in the fax? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. I mean, you also have to remember, this location is here. We are, in a straight line along the property, and we're almost 480 feet away from Cook Road. We're not going to build gravel roadway, gravel accessway all the way from Cook Road to here, because that's going to go through a field that has, that they're going to be using for farming purposes. So they're not going to build a gravel accessway. And in that distance, any, let's say, mud on the tires or anything is going to come off a truck before it hits Cook Road. Secondly, I don't think that they're going to be driving dump trucks or anything else over here. I believe that the material, they'll stage it along Cook Road, close to the road, so that they can do it here, and they'll carry it with a payload. It's, it's a little bit more tedious, but it's not going to, they're not going to bring vehicles all the way back here.
Right, I'm just saying that it's part of, you should revise your wetland permit if they're going to drive through the wetlands next to Cook Road. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, no.
Or the 50 feet.
No, that wetland that you sent me, that is there, no. They don't the Morrows don't access the property in that location to get to, they don't drive across there, because they know it's wet. So that any kind of vehicles that are going to access the property are going to access it where it's dry. I mean.
Okay, so just anything within 50 feet of that wetland next to Cook Road, you could just revise your application and come in and say
we're not doing anything within 50 feet. We'll make sure we don't do anything within 50
Okay,
feet. I mean, honestly, from being out there, I didn't even notice it. And from talking with Amar's, the culvert that you did, I mean, you can't really even see it out there.
Okay, are you going to divert the river when you put either in the low Ford crossing or the 15 inches of gravel?
No, this will be
12 inches?
No, this will be done at a low flow time. I mean, there was water flowing through when you went out there, when I went out there last week because of the amount of rain, but they'll wait to do this in August when there's hardly any flow or any trickle of flow through there. They'll either do it then or do it in the dead of winter when it's frozen. But I don't think they're going to have to divert the water course or do that. So, I mean, if it comes to that, if it's necessary, they could. But again, if it's done at the low flow season, it should not be an issue.
Okay, have you gotten comments back yet from the South Central Connecticut Regional Water Authority?
No,
Because it's in the Farm River Public Drinking Water Supply. It's a headwaters of the Farm River.
It's an unnamed tributary. No, I have not heard anything back. If I do get anything, I will defer it to your office.
In my environmental planner's report, I suggested the commission take a site walk out there.
Okay, how do they get to that second field that you're building a road to now?
Through the crossing. They drive along the grass and they drive. This is all already cut out. They've been accessing it. And if you go back and look at aerial photos, I mean, I could go back to about 1992 quite easily, and you can see this crossing through there. So it's you know, it's been in use and been in access probably long before that.
Well, in this aerial photo that Aaron sent out, it looks like there's access from Lori Cook's Mars house. In fact, it almost looks like there's some kind of structure on, in that dark field that's right there,
Well, that was
right
the
there.
soil scientist report. It wasn't mine.
Okay. That, I mean, at times they have used it. I know there are turkeys out there now, so maybe, I don't know if they have some kind of structure for that. I haven't walked back.
Well, I mean, how do they certainly don't go all the way around to get to that structure. They go right through their property on
Well,
that fence.
any kind of equipment, horses or anything come through, they have to come through this crossing. I don't know if they just, I mean, probably for convenience sake they can, because obviously the the Mars live here. So yes, they can cross, but they're not driving equipment through that way. They bring it up around through Cook Road.
Well, my personal feeling, my feeling is there is an agricultural use here to get to that second field that they show right there. I don't feel quite as Aaron does on significant activity of this project. It's, yes, you're taking out a swath of wetlands and replacing it with a gravel material. You still have the wetlands all around it. You're allowing access to that field. I don't know what a site walk would tell us, other than you're going to walk through a wetland. NCRS is one of the people that we refer to on projects, on wetland projects. I mean, if they're going to be the ones, what are we going to say? No, you can't have it, but they're going to design a project that allows them to go through it. I think one of their interesting projects is they use down trees in a lot of their brooks and streams to slow flow and gather gravels or sediments that go through. I mean, they're certainly well involved in the water flow. So, this is I mean, I can picture what they're going to do. It's not like that there's some elaborate system that they're designing. They're just putting a base to get equipment across. The water's still going to flow over the top. Anybody else got any comment?
No, I'm good. I can visualize it too.
Okay. All right, so.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Chris? Okay, so 15 inches of gravel is the idea for 157 feet. Is the idea that
We had this one in a rough.
the water won't be impeded in like in a flood situation? The water won't be impounded behind this access road at all?
No, because it'll be at grade, the grade that's there now, so all, the grade gets maintained.
It's not humped up,
No,
the road, for 157 feet,
No,
it's not
no.
above?
You
It's
cut-
at grade, so it's 15 inches down?
So
12.
imagine this being
12
the surface
inches.
of the
It's
ground.
12 inches.
They're gonna cut down 12 inches, they're gonna then put the gravel back up, so the finished surface will be exactly where it is today. So water will continue to flow over it.
They can still drive the tractor right through the water. They just need a firm base so they're not traveling over through mud. So it won't be making deeper ruts every time they drive through. They'll have a firm base, it'll still be water, and they'll just drive through it.
You know, Chris, a lot of those areas have a red rock base in them. Have you done any kind of boring, backhoe digging, or anything in that area to see?
Across the street, there are roughly,
Well,
I know, but I'm just saying-
We know down the street, across the street on the same brook, there's a few.
no, I know, but we've done right across the street, and we've done the 19 lots a little bit farther north on Cook Road, where we've done, you know, quite a few test pits back in the day. I don't believe that we've ever done anything on this property, but again, we're only going down the 12 inches, so I.
But on those other sites, did you hit red rock at all?
No, it was soil all the way down.
I guess my last comment, if the commission is so disposed to approve this, that they consider a low ford crossing, because from my reading, I understand it's from NRCS's literature, it's better for fish, to allow fish to go through, whereas the fish don't want to go through the gravel, but they'll go over a ford crossing.
I don't really know if there's fish in this stream. I mean,
Oh, I've seen herons in there fishing.
Well, yeah, the fish are gonna go over the crossing.
Because there'll still be water.
They'll be flowing with water.
Because it's
Yeah.
still they won't be going through the gravel. They'll be going over
Over the
it.
gravel.
Because right now, the gravel is only going to replace mud. So they're going to take out mud, put in gravel, and the fish can still swim right over it like they swim over the muddy base.
You're not gonna see the gravel.
You're probably gonna get a layer of mud over it
yeah,
after the
you
first
probably will, but
month.
the water will be above the
It'll be
gravel.
firm, so-
I don't think the gravel is gonna affect any aquatic life that are.
I was just taking it from the NRCS folks.
I think, my opinion would be, that would be in a larger water course where you would have some kind of aquatics. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know if there really are, I mean, other than amphibians, I don't know that you really get fishing in this
Right.
portion.
The other thing is on the state reporting form, you gotta fix the number on the upland. I have two figures, one is 3,000, one is 1,700, they can't both be right, so whatever it is, you gotta fix it. Your state reporting form says 3,000 square feet of upland area.
It's actually, it's in acres.
Yeah, but if you multiply it out,
Yeah,
it's 3,000.
I understand that. So we're actually reporting more upland area disturbance than is actual. I don't have a problem reporting it, but it's not like we're reporting less than what we're actually doing, we're reporting more. And again, it's a small amount, so I can correct it if you want, but I don't see the harm in giving them a slightly larger number. We did revise it based upon your comments.
All right, now, today, that access way ends where the field meets the woods. So do you have to take any trees down where you turn the road? To stay on Cook property, you had
No,
to
it's,
turn it to the south.
no, it's completely, this is completely open. The tree brush line is here, and as per, I think my October 25th letter to you, I was out there with Mr. Marr. I corrected the issue that we had on our map originally, but where I bend it, I just stopped it outside just beyond the actual wetland soils. We don't need to continue that because they're driving on that field now. It's dry.
Okay,
No reason to extend it any further. And this way, it leaves as much open to them for farming purposes, for crops, or whatever they plan to do in the future on the easterly side of the wetland.
Is there any reason why you chose that location to cross and not at a more narrow wetland area?
Chose that location because that's where the existing crossing is. And, you know, the vegetation through here is about the same all the way through. You can even see from the aerial, wetlands, at least on this side, pretty much hug the tree line. And because the slope comes up, it's about the same all the way through in thickness.
But your blue lines, your actual flagged wetlands, seems to be much narrower down lower on the site. If that's what this blue line is, wetland delineation.
Yeah, and that's a sketch by Mr. Logan. It is a little bit narrower down in that area based on his sketch, but again, we'd have to cut trees down there. There's not the existing crossing, so in essence, it would be more work and probably more detrimental to the environment and environmental impacts in that area. So the location we chose is the best location because it's actually the least amount of work,
Chris,
least amount of impact.
could you address how when you're gonna go in and scoop out 12 inches of organic, is that right?
12 inches of material, yes.
All right, where are you gonna put that?
Okay, I addressed that in my letter to you because you did ask that. Basically, we will take the spoils and we'll either, most likely, put them in the easterly field for now to let them dry out because they will be wet. So we'll stockpile them outside the 50-foot upland review area. And because they're organics, I imagine that the Mars will keep that material on site to be used in any farming. They'll probably mix it in and till it in with the soil, because it'll be rich in organics, it'll be fine for the farming. There's no reason to take it off-site, but we won't be depositing it in the upland review area or in the wetlands.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we've heard the application. Commissioners, any other comments? Then if not, I'll entertain a motion regarding significant activity of this application.
Mr. Chairman, make a motion that inland wetlands application A17-9.1, 135 Cook Road, COAG LLC, Farm Road crossing installation be deemed not a significant activity.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Second. Call for any discussion? Call for a vote. Ally?
Yes?
Dave?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Mike? Yes. Okay, now I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny this application.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that Inland Wetland and Watercourse Commission application number A17-9.1, 135 Cook Road, COAG LLC, Farm Road crossing installation be approved.
Motion made, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second, any discussion? Call for a vote. Ally?
Yes?
Dave?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And I just want to clarify, my vote is based on the fact that the design is going to be drawn by NCRS, which is an organization that we use in dealing, that we use as an expert in dealing with our questions and issues regarding wetlands. So I have support, I feel that their design will be adequate for this job and minimize impacts. Therefore, I'll vote yes also.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. New business, 13 5.4, 320 Barnes Road, Roland Technology, request to release bond.
Yes, we already released most of their bond. There's $5,000 left because I asked them for more riprap where a bank was eroding. They've put it in, and I am recommending you release the rest of it.
Entertain a motion to release the remainder of the bond.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that application A13-5.4, 320 Barnes Road, Roland Technologies, remainder of the bond be released.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Vote. Ally?
Yes?
Dave?
Yes.
Debbie?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to jump down to violations next. Notice of violation, 48 Jones Road, JCD Development LLC, unpermitted filling.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
For the record, I'm Joe DeGioia. I am the current owner and builder of the new home that was constructed on 48 Jones Road. And I am here,
Sir, can you spell your last name?
D-I-G-I-O-I-A. Yes.
Okay, now, Aaron, let's hear from Aaron. Let us know what's going on there.
Okay, the notice of violation went out in your packet. It was issued on October 18, and as it says in there, I first saw this property in September 2015 because someone came in with either a two-lot subdivision or a lot split, I don't know, but it was 46 Jones. And there's an older house on 46 Jones. So they were splitting off the backyard. So I was referred this by planning and zoning, so I always go out and check, and they had wetlands. Actually, Mylone and McBoone had drawn the wetlands, so I knew there's wetlands back there because they had drawn them, that somebody hired them to do the plot plan and so on, so they had drawn them in. So I went to look at it, and I took pictures at that time, so I'd like to show you pictures of 46 Jones Road, and then I'll show you pictures of 48 Jones Road today. So, okay, then let me fast forward, that was 2015. A year later, September 2016, Mr. DeJoy comes in, he's getting his building permit. And he could get it, I have to sign off now. They have a new thing for the last 2 years. We sign off, all the departments sign off on the building permits to make sure there's no whoopses or mistakes or whatever. So I signed off on it and came up to the counter and said, so I don't need a wetland permit? I said, no, your house that you're going to build is 100 feet away, so you're good, unless you want to go over there within 50 feet of that wetland there, and it's drawn on his as-built. I said, you're good. If you want to go over there and do some grading or whatever, you need a wetland permit. So then I got a call in September 2017, from someone who says, you know, I went to look to buy this house and I think there's a problem. I think the wetlands were filled. So I said, oh, and I went out there and took the pictures, the more recent pictures. So can I show the pictures?
Please.
And the as-built. I'll also show the as-built that depicts the wetlands. So I'm handing around 2 site plans there. One is the before it was subdivided, and the second one is the as-built that the building department requires before you can get your CO. So both of them show the wetlands. So the wetlands today appear to be, well, the trees were cleared and the shrubs and so on. And then it appears, Mr. DeJoy can tell us exactly what happened, but it appears they were filled with some material of some sort. And they're kind of humped up, kind of raised, and also the upland review area is kind of raised.
Okay, I think this is, well, I don't know. Too bad.
I have not had a chance to see those photos. May I see them?
I'll get them when they're done. When they're done, I'll give.
Come up and get the pictures, photos.
What exactly are you
You got,
inferring that-
remember, you gotta use the mic.
I'm sorry, what exactly are you inferring that these pictures depict here? Because they're not even of the same areas, the befores and afters.
Well, the before,
Here's the befores.
right, the
This is
before is 3 pictures. The first two
This
are,
is 46 Jones Road.
first 2 are 46,
These are 48.
correct.
Right.
Because I was asked to look at 46 before they split it in 2.
This is still 46.
That's right, it's still 46.
Right.
There's only one picture from 2015 that's your property. That's the woods, the picture of the woods.
And where is this in relation to your new photos?
I'll show you.
It's not. Because this photo would be the only one that means anything.
Right.
So where is this now? Just so I could get my bearings here.
Well, also their water came.
And that's undisturbed. That has not been touched.
Well, this is your house. Okay, it'd be somewhere here, there, and to the side, here and here, under this humpy thing. I don't know what.
This is the existing grass that comes up from here.
Yeah, this particular, not the grass.
This, right there.
Yes, I know.
So-
I'm not talking about the grass, I'm talking about
What did I
this.
disturb?
On the map, this is the map, where's the as-built?
For the record, we did not cut down any trees anywhere in this upland review area. None of these pictures depict anything of this sort. The only thing that we did was there was several of these old rotted trees that were already felled, which we removed, we just pulled them out, cut them up, and they're stacked right here in the new picture, right there. The only thing that I did here, that we did, was there was a pile of wood chips, and we spread it along the periphery of the upland review area. We did not fill any wetlands. We did not disturb we didn't change the grade. We didn't do anything but push some wood chips around, a little pile. That's it.
Can I show Mr. DeJoy the drawings? Okay.
Show me the
Aaron, you gotta make sure you use the mic.
Oh,
though.
right, okay.
I mean,
So this
show me the
is
drawings, but
46,
right.
this is 48 when they were going to subdivide it. And this thing is this, shit like this thing, all right? So
Nothing's
somebody
ever
took
changed.
down all these trees, right? This is the tree line. Maybe it wasn't you, maybe it was the guy before you took down all these trees, right, to make your house.
The tree line's right here.
Well, this was how it was. I'm not saying today it might be there. This
No,
is the
there's-
way it was
No, what
in
I'm
2015.
telling you is that there was no trees here. The only thing that was here was this garbage right here.
No, I
These
think
old rotted
maybe,
trees, and they were
maybe
felled
someone, this was a survey map, it showed this whole thing was trees, now it's a
That
house.
doesn't mean that the trees were here, though. That means
Okay.
that there was a tree line here.
All right,
Sir,
this is a he said, she said.
none of these pictures mean anything. I mean, they're
Well-
not even of the same areas, so.
Well, then wait,
I mean-
where are the wetlands on your property relative to your house? I don't know where
I
they are.
don't know exactly where they are because we didn't even go near them. The only thing that we did here was spread a little wood chips right here. That's it.
Well,
We didn't change the grade. You were just saying before that I would have needed to come and get a wetland permit if I wanted to encroach in there and change the grade. I didn't do that.
that's a wetland flag, that blue flag.
Okay. And this looks like a completely undisturbed area to me.
Well, I saw the blue flag. You're right up disturbed up to the blue flag, correct?
No,
Where,
this is a new photo.
where's the blue flag?
It's a new
This is-
photo, you're
This is
right.
from today.
I took it today, right. It's right next to this
We're not
log.
even, we didn't do anything there. I mean, this is
Well,
existing today.
You're right, it exists today, and that's this log. That's that log. So there's the log. So you cleared right up to the
No,
log.
we
Or
didn't
somebody
clear it.
did.
okay, all right, we're not going anywhere here. Aaron, how, can we get some aerial photos of this site? And can we get some more information on determining exactly what went on there?
Sure.
Sir, what exactly would the remedy be here? You want me to scrape the wood chips up? I mean,
Well, if you did go into the upland review area, you gotta reestablish the upland review area, and if you did put material in the wetlands, that all's gotta be removed.
we didn't
Whether it's
put-
wood chips, or fill, or whatever.
didn't put any fill. We just spread a little bit of wood chips along the periphery of the upland review area.
Well, how did you get there? Wasn't there trees between the woodland, in the upland review area?
I'm sorry?
You weren't clear, you didn't have an open lot right to the wetlands edge, did you? You had trees.
Not a lot.
You had trees.
We had trees, but they weren't there.
What?
They weren't there. They were in the other 3/4 of an acre that.
But you had an area of upland review area, now that you just said
That's
you
right.
spread chips.
And listen, before we cleared the lot, we had the clearing limits flagged.
Well, I have someone that feels that you filled the wetlands and you went into the upland review area.
You also have someone that thought that fish were gonna have a problem swimming across the,
Well, then
gravel area.
you
So
gotta work things out.
I'm willing to, I'm here, but I just don't know, what she's saying is not the case.
Mr. Chairman, maybe Mylone and McBrim could come out and flag the wetlands, and we'd know exactly where they
Correction,
were.
that's Giuliano Associates, not Mylone and McBroom.
If you don't
Oh.
mind, for the record, my office did the survey work, did the plot plan, did the as-built. Let me go out there, let me see what's going on. I can at least map it and put it on the map. I can deal with Aaron one-on-one and get to the bottom of this. Because,
But if you've done the survey work out there, then you've also have previous survey work before this gentleman started.
yes, we're the ones who did the lot split for this gentleman. So we've been involved since he was involved. So yes, we did the wetlands. Now, whether or not we'll try to find out that blue flag that you took a picture of today, it may be something that we set, but from where Mr. Joya actually built the house and everything, the wetlands are to the west and upslope of where the house is. So, but let me at least go out there. I'll meet you out there. We'll walk it and we'll determine it. And that's the easiest way. That way it's not a he said, she said thing.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Okay, so everything stays status quo for 30 days.
In the meantime, I have to close on the house, have somebody purchasing the property.
Well, I'm not, then you should better get someone there, because you're gonna have a violation notice if indeed you did fill the property.
I didn't fill the wetlands.
If you fill the property, I'm talking at the moment now, if you fill the property, there's going to be a recording on the land records that you have a violation.
You don't need to raise your voice at me, sir.
When someone talks over me,
I didn't-
I do what is necessary to bring this meeting under control. And you're the kind of person that takes this meeting out of control. Now, you had a very generous offer from your engineer to resolve the problem. Now, if you don't want to go that route, I'll rely on Aaron as an expert for the town of Wallingford to say that you filled the wetlands. And I don't think you want that to take place. So my suggestion is, get with your engineer and get with Aaron as soon as possible and determine what went on.
And I will do that. And I think that you're misconstruing my words here. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you, and I didn't feel as if I cut you off. You had stopped talking, that's all.
I think it's time for you to leave. We get on to the next application. You've got the direction here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? Thank you. Aaron, do you have those marching orders then?
Yes, I can go out with Chris as soon as he's available. This week,
Okay,
maybe?
going on to the second violation, A16 9.6, 103 North Turnpike Road.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Christopher Giuliano, licensed land surveyor and professional engineer with the firm of Giuliano Associates. To my right, your left is Mr. Riccello, the applicant and owner of the property. Back in September, Aaron visited the property and basically talked to Joe, and she believed that he had filled a small portion of wetlands by the driveway entrance of the property, about 300 square feet. I believe that occurred on September 9th. On September 11th, my office went out there, did a survey just to confirm or figure out what was going on. And I believe you have a copy of that survey in your packet. Basically, from the survey information, we were able to determine that fill had not been placed in the wetland. But we do understand that, and we do admit that the wetland had been disturbed. Basically, what occurred is after the oil water separator went in, the site contractor had to come into the back of the existing catch basin versus the side. They made a field change. In doing so, they disturbed an upland area, they backfilled the pipe, and then what they did is they raked the area basically from the property line, or where the silt fence is currently located, back towards the road. And what they did is after raking it, they seeded it, and now there's grass growing. So there's been a little bit of discussion with myself and Aaron on this matter, and it's more of a nuance on how we're saying certain terms. Aaron says that Mr. Riccello filled the wetlands, that area. I'm saying he disturbed it because the grades don't depict that he deposited material in the area. No one's denying that the wetlands have been disturbed. But one of the things that I'd like to point out to this commission is that area had been previously disturbed when the driveway and the gas main had been put in. And we have photos of that area prior to the installation of the pipe. Basically, actually prior and during the installation of the oil water separator. That shows that area and that it was grass. So it's not an area that had wetland vegetation growing in it. And in fact, when this matter came to me, I didn't even think there were wetlands in that area. I had to go back and look at the map. I'm so used to seeing the town's property just to the south, and yes, that's wet, that's wetlands. This was a slope up to the driveway, and it's always been grass, at least since that area was cleared out 4 or 5 years ago. So, I've had some discussions with Erin. She hasn't offered or provided any information about what she would like us to do about that area. But I think trying to restore a small wetland area that has been disturbed for quite some time might be cause more problems than it's going to solve. So basically at this time, I would just like to turn it back to the commission to see if you have any questions and if we can open up a dialogue and to see what you'd like us to do about this.
Well, I'd like to hear from Aaron first.
Sure.
Aaron?
Well, Chris pretty much summed it up. This is my picture. I think you, let's see if you got it in your packet. The letter to Mr. Riccello went out, it was dated October 25th. It went out to you in the packet, and it was mailed to Mr. Riccello. and faxed to Chris. And the photographs you see in the back of that were taken by Giuliano Associates, okay? My picture is the first one. I'm sorry, my picture is the first one. It says violation matter on it. This one. All right, now I've got a color of it here. So, did you get, I'm sorry, you got it in black and white or color?
Black
know.
and white.
Okay, I'll bring up the color one. You can see it better.
These are mine. No, these are mine. But that's after the work's done. These are before. They don't have those? Not yet.
All right, so
You give me those.
the silt fence moved about 15 feet to the south. I was surprised when Mr. Riccello moved his silt fence. It was in the same place for like 6 months or something, and all of a sudden one day it's not in that place. All of a sudden it's moved 15 feet to the south. Now I know why, because they had to put a pipe in there and so on. But in the process of doing that, he filled 300 square feet of wetlands to do that, to make it, the grade go down to the wetlands, because the wetlands are below where he wanted the grade to be. So it's like that. And as far as who owns, I guess half of those are owned by the state of Connecticut, and the other half are owned by Mr. Riccello. So the good news is it's not owned by the town, which owns the rest of those wetlands down there, so that was good. And I had my town crew go out there and verify this property line, and they said, yes, it's fine, it's where they would put it, so that's good, because the property line, Mr. Riccello has been moving that around for me. I asked for it several times over the summer, and so finally we got a definitive one by Giuliano, and it matches the town, so that's good on that end there. So there it is, and it's whatever the commission wants to do there. I don't know if it's possible to dig it all up, because there's a reason he put it there, because he needs to cover his pipe.
No.
So I don't think he would want to dig it up. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how it affects the overall fill calculations for the site and all that stuff.
Okay.
Anyway, that's why I'm putting it in the commission's hands. What do you want to see done?
Let me back up a little bit and first address one of Erin's comments, concerns. She mentioned that the silt fence had been moved from its original location to the property line. Mr. Riccello did that based upon a voicemail message he got directly from Erin on August 2nd or August 10th. Now, Mr. Riccello has transcribed or written down what that voicemail is. He has it on his phone if you want to hear. But that voicemail directed Mr. Riccello to move the silt fence to the property line, or put erosion controls on the property line, because it would be better to be safe than sorry. So he moved the silt fence based upon Erin's directions. Otherwise, he wouldn't have moved it. Now, as far as the installation of the storm drainage pipe, when it was dug, it went from the oil water separator to the catch basin. A bucket width was dug out, deposited on the high side, pipe went in, that material went back into that same hole. Pushed, flattened out, and then raked from the silt fence line back up the property. So again, based upon my survey information, there really is no material that was deposited in the wetland. And so I know it's semantics, but fully understand that that area, which had been previously disturbed, we disturbed again. So I do have some photos of that area prior to the installation of the storm drainage pipe, if the commission would like to see that. I do have the transcript of the 2 voicemails, if the commission wants to see that. We're not trying to argue on any point. What would the commission like us to do? And I did offer a suggestion in my letter that we can do something. We're already doing a wetlands restoration in the back of the property. We can add 300 square feet there. We're willing to work with the commission, just whatever you'd like us to do, because we really don't think we've done anything wrong here.
Okay, hold on.
Mr. Chairman, can I clarify one thing? I did tell Mr. Riccello that sort of, on August, whatever, but I meant a second silt fence. I didn't mean for him to rip up the first one. I meant for him to put a silt fence on the property line because he had gone over the property line a few times over the summer, and it was like this back and forth, like,
Yeah, but
where's
Aaron-
the
but Aaron,
property line?
Does your voicemail say second silt fence?
I don't,
Well, you can't
that was my intention
come here and
because,
say, well, I really meant a second silt fence.
no, actually, Mr. Riccello had gone over and graded town property a few times, not a lot, just a little bit. And I said, Joe, we gotta get exactly where this property line is. You know, you can't go on town property. So that's why I said, you ask Giuliano, you find out exactly where your town property line is, and you put a silt fence there so you won't be tempted to drive on town property.
And that's what they did.
Yes, but then they filled behind it, and they ripped
Well,
out
they
the
didn't-
first silt fence.
there's
The
no-
silt
no-
fence is not there anymore.
Well, there's no indication that you're talking about a second silt fence. You can't add that into the conversation. I
It's
really
on,
meant a second silt fence.
excuse me, Mr. Chairman, it's on the site plan. It was approved in the first place. That he put it right. He put it where it should be when we approved it. He did it right. And then I asked him to put a second one in because he kept on driving over the town line there.
Yeah, but it does, I don't think you said the second one. You said the silt fence on the property line.
Yeah, there was no honest, Aaron, I've heard the voicemail. It was, you asked to put erosion controls at the property line. Secondly, if Mr. Riccello was driving on town property, he would have gotten stuck because it is wetlands along there. The two pins for that line, which is the town's northerly property line, Mr. Riccello's southerly property line driveway, they've always been in. The line there is very clear.
What, you mean those metal poles?
The metal poles were put in next to the iron pins by Mr. Riccello. He just pushed in two fence posts so that as the grass grew up around it, you had a very clear, but the pins have always been there. And
I'm
when
not
when my office came back in and staked out that line with the little white sticks that you see out there, might see in some of the photos, there's no indication that he was on the town property there at all. So, and there'd be no reason for him to be driving there because he'd be driving into trees.
Okay. All right, there's 300 feet of disturbed area, but even in this picture, there's a certain number of feet from the silt fence that is right back to the grade, the original grade there. Am I correct?
Yeah, the picture, we have, there are pictures
Yeah,
that show.
you got a certain amount that on this thing.
Right, I mean,
So, if the dotted line that Aaron drew is the 300 feet, I'm not sure it's all 300 feet.
No, it's not 300 feet, it's 30 feet.
300 square feet, so 10 by 30.
10 by 30.
10 by 30, is what she's saying, so,
10 by 30 is 300.
square feet.
Yeah, but are you saying the length is 300 feet or the length is?
No, total square footage.
Okay.
The total square footage that they're talking about is being.
I thought you meant it was 300 feet long.
No. So, I don't like to see any wetland disturbed, especially where we've worked hard in all these applications. This area, along with the town next to it, is a highly disturbed area.
Yes.
What are you proposing in the rear of the property for remediation?
We're already providing like 900 square feet of wetland restoration. There was a tongue that came out from the woodland that had been mowed in the past. So we were going to replant that and restore it. So what we had talked about, or I had talked about in my letter to Aaron, was basically we can increase that by the 300 square feet to give something back and increase what we were already doing. I mean, again,
That sounds reasonable. Commissioners, any comments? Ellen? Dave?
Yeah, they know.
Debbie? Mike? Okay, then I think I'll entertain a motion to, let's see, in the motion, it must describe leaving this area as is, the fact that it's hayed and seeded and hayed, I think, and increase the remediation wetlands to the rear of the property by 300 feet in conjunction with previous approvals.
Just trying to think.
I'm
So I think
confused.
do I have-
No, go ahead, Aaron.
I'm confused. He's remediating all the problem wetlands that, in the back.
What's that?
He's already taken care of all the wetlands that were over-cleared in the back.
What do you mean? There's no room for an additional 300 square feet?
Oh, you mean to create a wetland, dig it down and make it wet?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean, to create it?
They're looking to remediate this 300 feet. They've indicated that they've got remediation in the back of the property.
He's already gonna do that today.
He's going to do an additional 300 feet.
Well, that's great, except he doesn't need to. It's, unless you want him to dig it out and create a wet area, he's already remediating all the wetlands he went overboard with. So I don't know where this like extra 300 square feet is gonna come from.
Well, then he can just leave the front alone and we'll go from there. But he's offering to do something in the back. I think where he's offering to do something, we should accept his offer.
Okay,
You're indicating that there's nothing he can do back there.
not that we didn't already order him to do.
Do you have shed some light on this, Chris?
I mean, it was, and order I think is the wrong word, Aaron, because we offered it as part of our design right from the get-go because, again, it was a ton of wetland soils that had been basically mowed, cleared, it stuck out beyond the tree line. And we were going to, yeah, previously. So we were going to basically replant that with some wetland plants, that area. I mean, the way it curves back there and it kind of undulates, there's easily an area of 300 square feet, like a pocket, that we could kind of plant in addition, and that'll be taken over by wetlands. I mean,
Wetland vegetation.
yeah, because we are going to put wetland plants there, so we can give the town an additional 300 square feet of plantings in that area, and you know, instead of 900 roughly, we'll be at 1,200. That's what we're proposing. So we're giving, you know, we're trying to remediate the wetlands that were previously disturbed, giving the town something back.
I thought you were already gonna do it. Maybe I'm
No,
confused.
we're
It's
already doing 900, roughly 900 square feet, but we're going to add on to that. And
Is it in wetland soil or dry soil?
what we're doing right now is in wetland soils, but as I said, the wetlands are kind of, they undulate, so we can probably find a small pocket adjacent to it that we can plant with wetland vegetation.
Yeah, or maybe take off a foot of soil and put it in. It's probably wet under there.
We
I've
can,
got everything stabilized now. All my grasses are growing. There's a pocket where we tied in the sewer line. If you're looking at it to the left, there's a hollow right there, which is a wet spot. We'll put some plants in there. It's probably about 40 by 50.
You gotta use the microphones.
I'm sorry. There's a pocket of wetland where we did the sewer line that has been undisturbed. We can probably put some wetland plantings in there if we don't put it in the other corner. There's plenty, I got 10.5 acres. There's pockets of wetlands everywhere. I can sprinkle blueberries or whatever anywhere you want.
Okay.
we'll find something that we can do, and I'll work with Erin to make sure that it's acceptable to her, so that we give you back at least the 300 square feet that was previously disturbed and that we altered or disturbed this time.
But it was, okay.
All right. Any other discussion from the commissioners? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the violation A-16-9.6, 103 North Turnpike Road, Joseph Vicello Apartment Complex unpermitted filling, be resolved by agreement of the parties by leaving the area that has been disturbed the way it is, and in return, the owner will create another 300 square feet of wetland. I got it right?
Okay, motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
And motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Call for a vote. Ally?
Yes.
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 Deb?
Yes.
Mike? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, can I take 2 more minutes of your time on this matter? Not to
This
deal,
matter?
not to deal with the notice of violation, but on the property itself. Mr. Ricciolo is at a point now where the site is stabilized. He's about ready to put in the maple trees and the pine trees around the flood storage area. Once that goes in, he'd like to pull down the silt fence around the property except for along the driveway entrance. That way, because that's the closest wetland we have. Then he can just smooth out where the silt fence was, and that'll be set for the winter. And then he'll put his placards up. We just want to ask if that's okay with the commission, because as we go through the winter, between the snows that we're likely to get and the deer and the turkey, the silt fence is probably going to not last through that time. So we'd like to get everything set now, get that out, because really the only work we have left is going to be for the roadway, the building, and the north side of the driveway where the community center is. Everything else is grass and has been stabilized, and through the last 3 rainstorms, we have not had an issue out at that site. So we just want to ask permission and make you aware of it now before we end up back here next month.
And you'll need to reinstall silt fence when the building construction starts?
We will be able to reinstall it, but closer to the actual construction. So we'll actually be protecting the back swale, the FEMA floodplain, and the front swale from any grading activities. We'll actually bring all the silt fence in closer to our activities.
Does Aaron have any problem with that?
This is the first I'm mentioning it. I wanted to do it in front of the commission, so if she does have any concerns, we can air it out right now before we have another.
Chris, could you just point to which ones you want to rip out on the plan here?
Basically everything except for along the southern part of the driveway and the northern part of the driveway from Main Street to just beyond the community center, because that area has to be knocked down. Community garden. Everything along the flood storage area, going back to where the sewer main was installed and coming along the south side of the property, and then the back side of the Wallingford property along Main Street, all that should be able to come out because it's all grass, it's all stabilized, and it's uphill from there.
And when are you going to plant the wetland plants next spring?
Then they would be next spring, but that area will stay silt fenced through the winter and everything else.
You're not going to take it out in that area?
No, that's along the northerly side of the property line. Okay, that's on the interior. There won't be any issue there because it's all stable around it.
I guess I haven't been in the back recently, but I guess it's okay. I
Since
don't
we're
know.
gonna go out to Jones Road, I'll walk you around and we can discuss it, as long as the commission.
I mean, if
doesn't
it's
have a problem.
stable, it sounds good, but
It is stable. We haven't had any issues with erosion controls on that site. It's been amazing, actually.
because it's so flat.
I don't have a problem with it. Commissioners have a problem with it?
All right. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Good. Okay. I don't think there's too much to be involved in on new applications. They're pretty, well, let's see, Aaron, on the receipt of new applications, the Twin Pines Drive, we okayed that.
Oh, yes, yes, that was approved by administrative approval. That's our second one back there. The other one was 41 Twin Pines, and this was his neighbor, 39 Twin Pines.
So
Yes.
that was pretty much, it was hanging out and where it didn't belong. Okay, Wallingford Town Parks and Recs, that's a new application we haven't seen yet.
It went out in the packet, but
Right.
right, yes.
Okay, so that's that. Church Street, Timberwood Homes,
That went out tonight
that
here.
went on tonight. Is he waiting for approval to get this, to do this work, or has he done it already?
Well, I haven't been out there this week, but wasn't done 2 weeks ago. I haven't been out there in 2 weeks, so,
Okay, this is it Timberwood Homes?
yeah.
This is up the Shernick's property up on 68 going up the hill, where he did have problems and the pond blew out a year ago. And and his request was to pipe, a positive pipe from the house, was it?
Yeah, but he's given up on that idea. Today, he told me he doesn't want that idea.
So he's got a new idea here.
Yeah, this is 4 lots. They want, the people that have deposits, they want bigger backyards. So it's to push back closer to the wetlands behind the first 4 houses on the left. As you go in, first 4 houses on the
What
left.
is he pushing back?
To push back into the upland review area. Right now, all the backyards stop at the upland review area. He wants to go back another 20, 30 feet.
Into the upland review area.
Yeah, toward the wetlands, another 20, 30 feet toward the
All
wetlands.
right, so the pipe down to the brook or the pond is gone?
Yeah, he said he found positive drainage today. I haven't seen it, I will go look at it, but he says he stayed clear of it.
Probably called putting the pipe in.
I'm sorry?
Probably called putting the pipe in for positive drainage. Okay, so that's a new application. All right, we can't, the election of officers, we don't have a full slate. 2018 meeting schedule, is there any problem with the meeting schedule?
That went out in the packet. You might want to fiddle with the July date. I remember last time you did, people voted to change the July date. You know, we get rid of the August date and then you do it later in July.
Quickie, is July 18th, is that the 3rd Wednesday?
Yeah, yes.
No,
4th Wednesday?
no.
Third Wednesday,
It's the third Wednesday?
yes.
Yeah, that was like, yeah, she's,
The 4th Wednesday would be the 25th.
yeah, but I asked if, yeah, that's what I asked. Was-
Is that a problem, Dave?
No, there's,
Oh.
no, you said that July 18th is the 3rd Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, at the moment, I don't see any issues. So, any disagreement with sticking with this schedule? With that being said, then, that's the schedule. Do you want me to sign this?
Actually, yeah, if you could sign that one and I'll white out the draft on it. Thank you.
Okay, now, there is, I'm going to bring up another issue here that Aaron handed me tonight. Okay, this gentleman stopped in my office. This is North Farms LLC. It's a industrial subdivision on the corner of North Farms and Northrop Road. This property has an approval. And they have a tenant now, they're going to build a building, but they need to rearrange the parking area. Indications are, and I suggested they come here tonight and explain what the differences were, but instead they brought Aaron a map and they were looking for administration approval. But my feeling is, the input that I was given, that there's less impervious surface on the site than there was. They're not encroaching into any drastic upland review area. There's no encroaching heavily into wetlands. They already have an approval. They're just rearranging some of the lots. I think I'll ask if we can offer them administration approval once Aaron double checks that statement.
Right.
That the issue is there is no major issues to be concerned about. I believe I've got support of the commission for that feeling. Okay? All right. Now, recent activities that we have, Oak Gate Lane, that was went to court and apparently that's under control. Aaron's quite pleased with that, with their results.
Oh, yeah, you referring to
7
the
Oak
staff report that I handed out tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Yes, finally.
8 and 10 Atwater. That cease and desist is still in effect, correct? Or what's their status? They've done some activity, but not really to do anything?
The commission approved their remediation plan.
Yep.
And the cease and desist would be lifted when they get the remediation plan done, and they went to do it. They actually called me up, let's do it next week. And then I said, well, you have to talk to planning and zoning, because planning and zoning wants them to take out more fill in the floodplain. In other words, they don't want to do it twice. They don't want to do what we want and then go back and take out more fill for planning and zoning. So now they're stuck in that place. That's where they're stuck now.
Because I thought they hired a contractor,
Yes.
but you said,
And he came in and chatted with me. He was raring to go.
okay, 1092 Clintonville Road.
Yeah, they're not quite done, but they make small improvements every time I go out there. What biggest thing is the plunge pool. I want them to put a plunge pool in the back, because that's what's going into the wetlands. And then I said, why is this so wet? And he goes, well, we tied in the roof, and it's a huge house. Well, no wonder it's pouring out like a fire hose. So, yeah, they need a plunge pool. That's what I'm waiting for, is a plunge pool back there.
Okay, 103 North Turnpike is taken care of. 7690 South Turnpike.
They were out there yesterday, working. They're still at it. They're building their, the 2 parking areas.
They got their retention pond in, though?
They got their flood storage area in, yes, that's what you're referring to, yes. They're remiss on their plantings. They haven't done, they did some of their plantings. They all died or got mowed down. So they gotta do the plantings. That might not happen till next spring.
Okay, 605 North Elm Street.
Well, that's a big problem. I don't know if people had time to read it here, but I've got photographs with these 2 storms. It was doing okay. It was doing okay through the summer. And of course, we had a very dry summer. And the owner, Mr. DiNatale, didn't want to put in the erosion controls that were required, like the storm basin. There were 2 storm basins. He didn't want to put those in because he felt it was doing good. Well, yeah, it was doing good, but we didn't have a big rain. Well, of course, the 2 big rains we had within the last week caused the site to fail massively, and there was massive sedimentation into North Elm Street and into the pond. I've got photographs. I don't know if you want me to pass them around. The pond is brown. Of course, it's that kind of red soil that, it's hard to keep it. It just will go right through a silt fence. Now, he did have 1 breach in the silt fence by the pond, but it was more than that. He fixed the breach in the silt fence and it got worse, the second storm. It's that red soil has very, very fine micro-sized silt, and it'll go right through a silt fence.
So the water in the pond raised high enough to flow out to the south, but the overflow is to the north. The designated overflow to the pond is to the north.
Correct. It was going, I saw it going out.
But yet it was the south that breached.
Well, where he's building his daughter's house, that's what breached. He brought in all this fill and it...
So it wasn't anything to do with the pond that breached?
No, it went
Okay.
into the pond.
All right,
He's got too much land open up. He's got a massive amount of land open up, and it's very steep. So the town engineer advised him to hydroseed the whole area except the immediate foundation of his daughter's house. He wants to get that finished. So he's going to keep on working on that house. But he's got,
10 acres opened up.
he's got a lot of land open up.
Tully's Road.
All right,
Yes.
so they needed to do they had some failures there. I went to inspect and I found a bunch of failures, meaning they did everything right the first time, with their improved project, but then it failed. So they went in and I directed them to beef it up, and they came back and they beefed everything up. And I didn't inspect it today, but they inspected it today, and they came in and showed me photographs today, and it held up pretty much, like 95% held up in these last 2 storms, which is impressive. They have to do a little bit more work. Now, of course, the key is, will it hold up through the winter? That's the key, because in that floodplain, if you remember, down by Wharton Brook, we can't put stone. We can put stone up a ways, but not in the 100-year floodplain, because that's considered filling a floodplain. So we use the filter socks.
Okay, Chimney Hill Road.
Well, they had a failure with Friday's storm. Last week, they had a failure, and Public Works cleaned it up on the neighbor's property, patched it up, but, you
All
know,
right, which project is this on 195 Chimney Hill?
that's Sunwood's 16-lot subdivision.
Is that Weiderman's project?
Yeah, Sunwood Development, yeah. Well, basically, they had a silt sack, they forgot to change it, so it filled up with the storms, and then it just went over the top into the neighbor's yard and reamed out their yard.
Okay, 69 Chester Road, Del Bono.
That's going surprisingly well.
920 South Colony Road.
Okay. The commission approved that, I don't know, last April, I think, and one of the conditions of approval is by November 15th, they have to repair their big stormwater facility that broke. It broke a number of years ago, maybe 10 years ago, and it's causing a mess in Wharton Brook. So they said, okay, they'd fix it. One of the conditions of approval had to be fixed by November 15th. Well, they haven't started. So I need some direction about what do I do? They're not going to go forward with their project for other reasons. They're not going to act on that permit, at least not for the foreseeable future. I mean, our permits are good for 5 years, so, you know, they might someday, but anyway, we can't wait 5 years to have that stormwater facility fixed. So what do I do here? Do I issue an order?
Well, what have they said?
I have not gotten a definitive response.
Who have you been talking with?
Well, Dave Carson is their engineer, and I alerted him about 3 weeks ago. And, yeah, so I haven't gotten a call back from Mr. DiMartino, but who's the owner. Well, I think really the point, it costs a lot of money to do. This is a big expense project. So what direction do you want to take on this? It's not a small project, it's a big project.
But it's functioning. It's what is it doing that
Oh, no, it functions fine up top. It takes all the
Yeah.
water off the site,
yeah,
fine.
and then what?
It gets out and it's broken, so the pipe's broken and it's hanging out in the breeze. It undercuts about 40 feet, this giant cave, and every time it rains, the cave is carved out deeper and this silty material goes into the Wharton Brook. So the pipe needs to be fixed, and then you put in a stone basin lined with riprap down below. So when it comes flying out of there, it gets caught by the stone. I think it was working well 20 years ago, but it just blew it out. It failed. The pipe failed, fell down, and things got blown out, so.
Well, you've called them and talked with them. Have you jotted them any letters? Any written
No,
correspondence?
I have not sent a letter yet. I didn't know what to say. I mean,
Well, I would send him a letter aware of the problem and a solution. What is the answer to solving the problem? His answer to solving the problem?
so I'll put it in his lap. What do you
Yeah.
propose? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, I think that's the bulk of our agenda tonight, unless I threw something out. Okay, the rest is reports and communication, pretty much standard stuff. But, okay, I think I have someone from the audience that has a request, no? So, then we're ready to adjourn. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the meeting be adjourned.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. Very good.